What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 41 and the fourth offseason of the Houston Texans franchise. I've got a great video for you guys today. We do a whole bunch of stuff. This team looks very different heading into our next season, and I think you guys are going to definitely want to stick around to check that out. Before we get to the video, though, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you've not already, and turn that bell notification on, and let's get right into it. The first order of business today, guys, is it is time for us to move on. Lovie Smith is going to be retiring, and it is time for us to welcome in a new coach. And that new coach is going to be Orlando Blackwood. Now, Orlando Blackwood has been the defensive coordinator for a couple of teams throughout the life of this franchise. Most recently, he was with the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers run a very different defense than what we currently run. They run a hybrid type defense. If you don't know about their playbook, they run a 4-3 and a 3-4. I think it was about time for us to make a change defensively. Blackwood comes in off of a stellar season where the Panthers finished near the top of the league defensively, and now is going to get a chance to be a head coach here with the Houston Texans. Now, of course, with this is going to probably come some changes. There's going to be some personnel issues that we're going to have to take care of, and there might be some people leaving that we didn't anticipate leaving quite yet, but we'll see how it plays out. But as of right now, Lovie Smith has officially retired, and the Texans are now going to be ran by Orlando Blackwood. And what I did here to make it seem as realistic as possible is I did want to make sure that I do believe that there's actually more stories to be had by being a coach, which I have mentioned in other videos, and that I wasn't sure if there was a difference, but I want to make sure I'm getting all of the stories that I possibly could, and I just was not getting them as the owner. So what I did was I recreated as a coach, made Orlando Blackwood, and then I also signed the real Orlando Blackwood as our defensive coordinator in the file. So it's going to have both of their names. They look similar, they look the same, but that's why it is labeled the way that it's labeled. So we're just going to pretend that Blackwood is going to be running the defense, even though he's the coach. And he has also decided to keep Ed Green on because our offense really has not been that big of an issue. So he is going to get to stay on. But it is a new regime here in Houston, and hopefully it can take us to that next level. So this is what our schemes are going to look like with the new regime in place. We are going to be running a 4-3 under, along with the Carolina playbook, which is a multiple 4-3 front. I do want to start testing this team with more of a different look up front. Some 3-4 mixed in, having some linebackers drop into coverage, having a little bit better of a blitz package. So I want to see if we can make something like this work. And eventually, maybe we go to a strictly 3-4, or maybe we stick to the 4-3 and just have a little bit of a mixture. But I do want to have a multiple front, and Orlando Blackwood is going to bring that to us along with his defensive package from the Panthers. So what this is going to look like when we are in the 3-4 is we are going to have Omenihu and right now Chambers playing on the outside. We'll have Redmond in the middle as the nose tackle. Greenlaw will slide inside with Devin White, and then we'll have McManus and Grenard on the outsides as the edge rushers. Another nice perk to this book is there is a nickel 3-3 package in here, which is something I'm looking forward to. So we will have an extra body on the field at times for the nickel 3-3 look. We also have the nickel 3-3 odd and 3-3 Sam, which is essentially your standard nickel look. And then we also have a double mug, which is basically a double A gap type of design. So it features a lot of the formations that I appreciate as a defensive guy. And hopefully, like I said, this can allow us to get a little bit better pressure. We'll get a chance to see what the order is looking like now going towards the draft. And this is going to be the official order. So the Patriots are going to get to select first, followed by the Giants, the Rams, Seahawks, Eagles, Saints, Jets, Dolphins, Jaguars, Vikings, Bears, Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals, Seahawks again, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Falcons, the Panthers, and then it finally comes to us at number 22. That is going to be our first pick And then we don't pick again until the 32nd pick. In the last mock draft, they had Julian Chambers going a little bit earlier, but now it almost looks like we might not even get a chance to snag him if we don't go with him with our first round selection. And but with us trying to get more of a 3-4 look and a multiple front look, a guy like Warren Williams or Tracy Dunn or even Jermaine Hayward, well, he's a speed rusher. So now we are sort of going to be looking for that type of like power rusher, because we don't have that right now. Power rusher, run stopper could probably be one we go for. So there are options for us on the table. We're definitely we might have to do some trading here. And I already anticipated doing some big trades, which is going to be something that we get into here shortly, because with the change of regime, I feel like it's right time for us to maybe shake things up on the roster a little bit. Before we can talk about trades, though, we do have to look at the re-signings. And now these are the guys that were signed on from the practice squad during the regular season. And I'm going to have to make some decisions on them. So the first up is Brian Davis. We have quite a few receivers right now. I don't think there makes much sense to bring him back, just because we've got so many already, and we had a couple other ones that were, I think, 69 and a 70 overall that were already on the practice squad. I do like his body style, though, that being 6'3", 223. Let's just make sure I'm not making a bad decision here. He's got good speed and excel for his size for sure. His deep route is very bad. Release is pretty good. Looks to be more of a slot type receiver. Can't return kicks. Not bad with toughness and injury. Honestly, it's 1 year, 830. We'll just bring him back. At worst case scenario, we'll just do 900. At worst case, we end up cutting him for no loss because there's no bonus. Well, if he even takes this. There we go. Yep, he took it. Now, John Dalton was the quarterback we signed in preseason, and I stashed away in the practice squad. And once I got him on the active roster, I started putting him on the focus players list to try and see if we could build him up to be a quality backup quarterback. And now it's time for us to make the decision. He's 24 years old. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. He's a 69 overall, which really isn't all that bad. The question is, though, do we want to bring him back on that big of a deal? 4 years, 20 million, or do we want to look in free agency and potentially the draft for another cheaper option at backup? One of the bigger issues I have with this particular position is that we have yet to see a quarterback get hurt in any game, even sim games. So does it make sense to pay this much for a backup in Madden, knowing chances are I'll never actually have to call on him? But this would answer our question going into the draft as well. I mentioned that maybe taking one later in the day, this would leave that option off the table where we don't have to worry about it. But 4 years, 20 million is quite a bit of money. I think I'm just going to let him hit free agency and we'll see what happens. I like John Dalton. I think he was, had some potential, and he is a 69 overall now, which is essentially better than Minshew. But I just feel like we can get one in the free agency or get somebody out of the draft to fill in that position, and we don't have to worry about it. This is the one spot where I'm still really torn about, because Petrie is a serviceable starter. My only concern is he's 27, right? He's to that point where it's difficult for him to upgrade because of his age. He's only star. He lost that superstar he had for a little bit, and he really hasn't given us that pop. And my concern with this is, I think I mentioned this in the last video, but I just want to repeat it because to me, it's my biggest reason as to let him hit free agency. If we keep him here for another 3 years, and let's say we sign a safety or we draft a safety, those are 3 very important years where our safeties are currently not getting better, and Petrie is also not getting better because he's just not making those strides anymore. The Madden system is very rigged for you grow the most between like 21, 22 and like 26, 27. Once you hit 28, most bets are off of upgrading because the XP gets so high to earn that it's really hard for them to upgrade. I mean, look at Greedy Williams. I just saw his name here. He had a great season for us. He didn't go up a single overall. He's 28. He doesn't have superstar development, And that's just sort of the problem that you have. So to me, I almost feel like Petrie, while is serviceable, we can deal with a lower overall that's 21, 22 years old and let them build up to be what Petrie was and then surpass him in the next 2 seasons. So for that reason, I'm going to not re-sign Petrie. I'm going to let him hit free agency, and we're going to move on. Hopefully we can find somebody at least to hold us over. All right, so we find ourselves in free agency, and I mentioned before that this might be a situation where we end up shaking up the roster a little bit, and that is true. I do plan on shaking up the roster. The first thing that I would like to do is I think it is the best option for us to trade away Patrick Queen. Now, the reason for this is because Patrick Queen is only 27. Queen still has starting ability. He still has value on this team, and he also doesn't cost us like $10 million to trade away. If I trade him away, it is a $3.5 million cap hit, but we also save about $3 million. So overall, it's going to be a good move for us. Whereas if we cut or trade like White or Greenlaw, it is a much bigger cap penalty, and I really don't know if I want to go down that route. So I think the first order of business is we're going to try and trade away Patrick Queen to a team that needs a linebacker. After going through the trade calculator, looking through the teams, and weighing the options, this is a trade that we can get put through, which is going to give us a mid-first round pick. And in the process of doing so, we're going to move Patrick Queen to the Broncos, give them our second first at the 32nd pick, and also a 6th round pick for extra compensation. And in return, we will receive the Broncos' 1st round pick. This way, the Broncos get another middle linebacker. They only have one, and they run a 3-4. They need a second guy. Patrick Queen will step right in as their best linebacker. They still stick to the 1st round, and we get up front a little bit more to where we have a little bit more playability when it comes to who we can draft, and if we want to pursue one of those defensive ends that is aiming to go a little bit earlier in the draft. So the first big trade is out of the way, and now we find ourselves with the 16th and the 22nd pick in the 1st round. We also have 2 seconds, 3/3 of 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th remaining. This is going to give us a lot of leeway for moving around the draft board if need be, and also being able to retool this team with a new coaching staff and a new defensive scheme. So we're going to be looking at trying to do a 3-4 under type of scheme, and this is what that layout is going to look like. Of course, things may change before we get to the season, but this is what we have. So now it is easy to see where our holes are. Our biggest holes right now, of course, being the left end position. D-tackle and defensive and other defensive end is not a bad spot right now, not something we really need to concern ourselves with. And Greedy Williams is definitely not our starting safety, so we do need ourselves a new safety considering we let Jalen Petrie go. With Devin White and Greenlaw being 28 and 29 respectively, it is coming to the point where we want to start working towards the future at the linebacker position, so that is still going to be a high priority even though we do have plenty available. All right, guys, so this is the end of our first wave. I did 5 contracts. As you guys know, free agency usually isn't a big spending spree for us. This year, however, I think it is time for us to really put something together on this defense and go after one of the best free agents available in this class, and that is John Franklin Myers. I also am trying to bring in some extra depth right now. We have Boy Mafe that I added to this list as a reserve player behind McManus and Grenard. Adrian Phillips is somebody I want to bring in because he is a good mentor option. If everything else fails in the draft and we can't find the safety that we want, then Phillips could step in, or JT Woods, and Woods is another option for us. So I brought in a couple of safeties, and then I'm also going to bring in Jacoby Brissett as a mentor for Dylan Gilbert to give us that little boost of XP. And if we can land all of them, that would be great, especially John Franklin Myers. That would completely shake up our entire defense. All right, guys, we end up getting John Franklin Myers. He decides to go with us over the Bears, and we actually get every single player that we were aiming for, probably because I took the different approach and went after the other guys that weren't top of the list. But man, how exciting is that going to be now that we have John Franklin Myers on this team, lining up at defensive end for us next to Alfonso Redmond and assisting us in our pass rushing. That's going to be so awesome. All right, guys, and also this is another trade that I want to go ahead and make. And this is because we have drafted 2 tackles the last couple of years that we need to see more of. And Jenkins is taking a big chunk of that money away from our available cap, and we have not seen the best return on him yet. Now, will this end up making sense in the long run? I don't know. But at an 87 overall, a $12 million cap hit, and young guys that we really need to see before they get past the point of no return, and with Jenkins being 30, I think it is time for us to move on from Jenkins. Considering the injuries that we have from him, the lack of production we get from him anyway, I'd rather go with a cheaper option if we are continuing to have inconsistencies there. The Falcons have a need. Both of their tackle positions are underwhelming, to say the least. And I don't want to get picks for this year. We have a lot of picks this year. I also want to start gearing up for the future. So I want to do a 3rd and 6th for next year's draft for the Falcons for the rights to Elgton Jenkins. I already put it through the calculator. It is a good fit. Both teams come out pretty even. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to push this trade through and move on from Jenkins once and for all. It is now time for the private workouts, the last 3 players that we can do this for. And I already know that there is a couple that I want to make sure I get. So let's do Julian Chambers as one. I also want to do Eli Rogers. That was the one I found in the rounds 3 to 4 area. I'm curious to see if I can find out as much about Frank Fletcher as possible. All right, guys, Julian Chambers is a top 5 talent in this draft class. And look at these ratings here. A for awareness, B zone, A, everything looks good. Top 5 talent in the entire draft. That is huge. Now we have to take this guy. This is the safety we've been looking for. This is the guy. Top 5 talent. Now I almost don't even feel bad about taking him in the top portion of the first round at 16. If he even, I mean, I'm sure he'll make it that far, because I don't think people are going to start taking safeties that early, because these guys are projected to be the end of the round. But now it's said and done. Like, there's no way I'm not taking him. Okay, so we still don't know a lot about Elliott. And we know that his awareness isn't as good. We know his zone coverage isn't as good. Yeah, so it's got to be Chambers. He's got to be the answer. That would be incredible. If you guys have watched this series and my last series with the Vikings, you guys know I've had a big problem being able to find safeties in the drafts. So if we can hit on one, that is a big deal. And then here's Eli Bridges, the corner that I found in the mid rounds, and he is showing that his talent is rounds 2 to 3. So that is a good sign. We have quite a few 3rd round picks that if we can land him in one of those, it would be pretty good. He also has a kick return. Okay. So overall, rather good ratings for round 2 to 3 talent. Definitely somebody we'll keep an eye on to add to the team. The only question is, what does that leave Will Oakman? Is Oakman a guy that we could still go after? He's got much better physicals, it looks like. He ended up having a 4.38 40-yard dash, which finishes way better than Bridges. But a lot of his other ratings aren't up to par with what Bridges is. And then Frank Fletcher was the last one that I did. We weren't able to unlock all of him, but we got him to 90%, which in my book should be pretty good. And let's look here at the combine. He's got some really good combine numbers. Vert and broad and 20-yard shuttle all first. 6th for 40. That's not bad. 7th for bench. And 2nd for 3-cone. And, oh, wow, look at that. A zone, B tackle, B awareness, B block shedding, A hit power, A impact blocking. His pursuit is absolutely horrible. B play recognition. This looks like another steal. Another option that we do have at linebacker right now is Jameel Betts. Now, Betts is a guy that looks to be a straight up pass coverage linebacker. And I want to put him, I'll put him right down here. So looking at Betts's player card, we know he's got good tackling. He should have good zone. He's got top of the board for a lot of his statistics here for the physicals. And it looks like he's got some pursuit along with a good awareness and tackling. So this could be another option too. If, let's say, you know, McDonald is not a guy we're able to land, if we could go ahead and get Betts, that would be another good follow-up. And honestly, Betts looks to have a better zone coverage, so he might end up being a better option for us than Avery McDonald. Pat Smith is another guy I'm interested in too. If he could be this could be a good backup. If we go one of the linebackers and safeties first, we could try and come back for a guy like Pat Smith later in the round. That could give us a good backup option as well for a guy like Grenard, who is 29 pushing 30. But Bridges is somebody I want to target. We can really fix this defense up nicely if some of these guys hit. It is time for the draft. The Patriots are the first team on the clock. So the Patriots end up going with Rick Ferguson at the top of the draft. The Giants end up going quarterback. So the first guy off the board, Eric Dupree, the top quarterback. Definitely something that was needed. They were working with a 68 overall. Now the Rams go ahead and they'll take a quarterback as well, Eric Carden. That was the Heisman Award winner. The Seahawks continue the run on quarterbacks and they take Christian Trent out of Memphis. The Eagles are going to go ahead and take the second best pass rusher in Kareem Greer out of Miami. They definitely need the help, whether it's on the line or standing up. I can't remember off the top of my head if they're running a 4-3. I'm pretty sure they are. So he'll end up sliding down to the line, similar to what we did with McManus. The Saints end up pushing aside their fears of the injury that caused Trevor Gould to miss the combine and take him 6th overall. He fits another immediate need for this team. With the loss of John Franklin Myers, the Jets are left looking for a defensive end. Jermaine Hayward will fill that spot and actually ends up fitting their scheme quite a bit better than what Franklin Myers did, considering they switched from the 3-4 to the 4-3 a couple of years back. And it seemed as if, Franklin Myers just never really fit that role for them. But now Hayward comes in with a clean slate, and the Jets get their next edge rusher. The Dolphins, having said goodbye to a couple of their corners, are down to 3 on the roster. And other than the first one, the other 2 definitely not starter worthy. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to take the top corner in Eric Buckley to fill in that spot. The Jaguars elect to go with the first wide receiver, Tyron Thomas. Their receiving core isn't exactly bad, but they are aging. Calvin Ridley is now the 3rd best receiver, and he's 32 years old, coming up on the final year of his contract. This way, they'll be able to pair Thomas with Ridley, the younger receiver they drafted, and form a pretty good duo while Christian Kirk finishes out the last couple of years of his contract. So the Vikings end up going with Miles Arnett along the D-line. A lot of aging players on that team, so they are starting to try to turn towards the future, and that puts the Bears on the clock. The Bears end up taking Derek Simpson, the first D-tackle off the board. The Commanders end up adding Mick Boston to their receiving room. And there goes Warren Williams. The Raiders end up taking him. And it was definitely a need. So I think I sort of figured out for a little bit now that he was going to be gone before we got on the board. So the Cardinals end up stopping the free fall of right tackle Dom Byram. They don't exactly have an immediate need, but he could end up taking over their left tackle spot, as the guy there is not exactly proven anything. And honestly, if it wasn't for the team's picking, he should have went a lot higher. And then right before our pick, Jalen Elliott ends up going to the Seahawks. And there is Julian Chambers. He is hidden development, 92 speed, 93 acceleration, 88 change of direction. The Steelers end up going with Jonathan Finnegan at quarterback. Kenny Pickett hasn't exactly been the best quarterback for them, and now they'll get a chance to see if they find the future at the position. And the Bengals then go ahead and take Darren Knighton, the 3rd receiver off the board. The Falcons take Zach Melton. The Panthers go with Tracy Dunn. The Chargers take Josh Vanover, the middle linebacker, and that puts us back on the clock. So this is where it gets difficult because we don't know exactly if any of these guys are round 1 talent anymore. We do have Avery McDonald, who is here. All right, so I decided to trade down with the Cowboys. We have quite a few picks left on the board. Most of the picks that we have actually fall between rounds 2 and 3. And I figured since there's so many players I'm having a hard time deciding over, why not get another pick for later in the draft and also pick up a 3rd next year to let the Cowboys move up from 31. All right, the Cowboys traded up to take Casey Batch, the left tackle. The Ravens go Geo Dixon, the first running back off of the board. There goes Julius Coles, another wide receiver going to the Bucks. Another tackle, Paul Andrews going to the Packers. Another tackle, now all the tackles are going. Brandon Dugan now going to the 49ers. And there goes the center, Philip Malone, first interior lineman off the board. Then another, wow, a whole run on all the linemen that are left over. And there goes wide receiver Greg Pierman. And then the Chiefs go a running back as well, Kenny Moss from Washington going, and that brings us back on the clock. Both guys are still available. I was doing some thinking, and I was sort of expecting both of them to be available here. And another reason that I decided I wanted to trade back is because I feel like there is no real difference between these two guys. I feel like both of them are going to be pretty good in coverage for the most part. I'm still concerned with Avery McDonald having A ratings for zone, but being a run stopper, I don't know. I guess I'm just a little concerned as he's not pass coverage, because it's pass coverage, run stopper, and then speed rusher and power rusher for outside linebackers. And if he wasn't able to get pass coverage up above those, does that mean that, you know, because there's other linebackers over here, like for instance Pat Smith, who is very easily a power rusher, but he has zone coverage as an A. So a part of me feels that maybe there's just a few linebackers that truly have really good zone coverage, right? And then because there's not that many high valued zone coverage linebackers or coverage linebackers, that even though they're not that great, they're considered one of the better ones because of the class they're in. And so because of that, I feel that it is important to go with Jamil Betts, because we know he's a pass coverage linebacker. We know he can cover, and he's got everything that he needs to be a middle linebacker for us in our system. Whereas we just aren't 100% sure with Avery McDonald if he is going to be that guy. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take Jamil Betts here. I know it's a little early for him, but we're at the end of the first year, round 2 to 3. I'm okay with it. All right, so Jamil Betts ends up having 87 speed, 90 excel, 90 agility, 75 change of direction, and 73 strength. The Broncos go ahead and take Russell Walsh at right tackle. The third safety, Zach Farley, off the board to the Patriots. And there goes Danny Weber to the Giants. And there goes Avery McDonald to the Rams. So we'll have to check on him to see what he ends up being. And then I decided to move up in the draft here to the top of the second round. There's a few players up here that I want to try at least get one of. And we had some extra players on here that we really didn't need. So I went ahead and sent our later third round pick, Josh Barton and Kelvin Joseph, over to the Eagles, who desperately need some corner help very badly. Joseph is going to be their number 2 corner now. And in exchange, we get their second round pick. But that catapults us up to pick 5 here in the second round. And I'm already eyeing somebody in particular. And that is Otis Watts. Now, we missed out on Williams, and we do have obviously a really good defensive end unit right now because of the Franklin Myers signing, but we do need to have some stability there. We have Chambers, who may be a future project. Omenihu is 29, and Myers is also 29. We need some youth on the defensive end to make this new scheme work. So let's go ahead and let's bring in Otis Watts, a 6'6", 271. We know that he's round 2 to 3 talent. Wasn't good enough for the first round, but he's one of the top remaining talents left in this group. Because he is a known product, we know he fits in this group right here. Even if we're taking him a couple picks too early, I want to make sure we get him. So we're going to go ahead and take Otis Watts. So he ends up being normal, but that's okay. We can always build him up down the road, and hopefully we can turn him into a really good player. And for our second round pick, I want to continue to build up the front 7. Pat Smith, I mentioned him before. We do not currently have a power rusher on the roster for stand-up, and it says he has A-zone coverage. Now, I don't know if that's a technicality, or if maybe, you know, A in this class is 64 or 65 or, you know, 60 or something like that. But because we're in a 3-4, we do need some more edge rushers. So I would like to bring Pat Smith on to see if he could end up being somebody we could work with in the future. And since we still have another pick yet, I think we could still land Bridges if need be later, or we can always fall back on Oakman, who is down here somewhere. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Pat Smith at outside linebacker to shore up our edge rushers. And he is hidden dev as well. 83 speed, 87 excel. Change of direction is absolutely horrible, but that's okay. All right, so we are at the last pick of the second round for us. Eli Bridges is at the top of our chart here, because this is sort of the area where he should be getting taken, even though it says rounds 3 to 4. I'd prefer to just take him here, so that way we know we're getting our corner. And if we look down here, I mean, I have all these guys on here, but none of them really are like, holy crap, we need to get these guys. Especially now that we were able to move back and pick up a couple extra picks. I know that there's other guys down here that we can always rely on. So we will go ahead and we're going to take Eli Bridges here and see what we get. Eli Bridges is hidden development. He's not as fast as some of the other corners that we've found, but he still has good speed. 92s across the board is very good. Yes, he's 5'11". His strength is very bad. But if we can mold him to be our future nickel corner, that would be a perfect fit for him. Okay, we are back on the board. We have 2 picks in the next 4 picks. So let's go and see who is available at this point. Go to our favorites list here. We already have a pass rusher. We have a pass coverage linebacker that we took early. Maybe we could look at a lineman or 2 down here. We could use some interior linemen. We don't need tackles, but we have Keith Broughton and Glenn McAllister chilling here. Let's take a look at these guys. All right, so Broughton, oh, he's 23. I don't like that. But let's just take a look at him. So it looks like he's top of the class for a lot of things. And we know that, okay, his pass block power is bad. His pass blocking could be bad. We don't know what his run block finesse is. Impact block is good. Okay, so pretty good stuff there for Broughton. And then Glenn McAllister. McAllister is 21. Okay, I like that. Let's see. He is also, oh wow, he's really good. First, second, ninth, first, and first. Yeah, I'm taking him. No question about it. Okay, well, he's normal, but he's top of the class. You can see that 70 speed, 81 acceleration, 91 strength. So he's going to have some pretty good initial ratings. Okay, so we're back on the board now after selecting. We're getting a lot of good value right now. I'm really liking the way things are going. And Will Oakman is just chilling here. Tell me why I shouldn't just double down on corner. You know, I know that sounds sort of silly, but I mean, Will Oakman down the line could be, oh, we don't really need him. I mean, Greedy Williams isn't going to be around that much longer. Yeah, so as much as I would like to take Will Oakman again and double down on corner, we're going to go ahead and pass on him. Plus, we really don't know what we're getting out of him. C's across the board. This isn't that strong of a class. We already took a guy. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, so if we're going down below here, we don't need these guys. We've got ourselves a D end. We don't need a tight end. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of these wide receivers here. I know we don't need that many receivers, but I told you guys, day 3 guys, round 2 to 3 guys. Can we find a guy in that range to maybe just take a flyer on for later? Because I mean, Collins isn't getting any younger either. I think he's 27 or 28 now. So I always like to be prepared. I know. Bear with me, guys. I like receivers. So Cash is a big body guy. I checked. He's like 37th and 40. Edison here. He's 21. He's 6'3". He's 20th in receiver. I really want some more speed. I feel like we have a lot of receivers that aren't fast, but are big bodied frames. And here's another one. So Gerald Lynch is 18th. That's a little better, a 4.48. Has decent speed. Not a big fan of that. And then we have Marcus Felton here, who is 6'1", 205. Okay, so he's got 4.37 speed. That's 7th best. And then in the college pro day, he was 4th best with a 4.31. Ooh, and he's actually has some rather good ratings. I like Felton right now. We don't know a whole lot about him. The only thing we do know is he's average as hell across the entire board, which I guess for a day 3 prospect at the tail end of the 3rd here, going into the 4th isn't a bad thing. But look at all those A to C ranges. I mean, This guy could be like a Swiss Army knife with half of those things being a C or better. Break tackle, vision, awareness. Juke move could be a B or C. Kick return, spin, carrying. This is almost like that guy Vernon from that the Packers drafted. He just seems to be good at everything. I'm gonna take him. Oh, look at that. And he ends up being hidden dev. Marcus Felton, 6'1", 206, out of Wisconsin. 92 speed, 93 acceleration. Okay, so we are here at the end of the 4th round, and quite a few of these guys are still available. So we're gonna go down here and see what left is on our day 3 board. I'm really giddy about Frank Fletcher. I feel like he's gonna end up being on par with Betts and McDonald. I almost want to just take him here. His zone coverage, his tackling, his block shedding. I know his pursuit is going to be an F, but I just feel like he's going to be a great pick. To have him this far down the board and have him be so high, these are those players that you look for. Like the guys that have good ratings down below, you know that means that they're probably going to be way better than what their projection is supposed to be. And it's all about finding these guys. And I mean, this guy's got way too many A's for me to not take him. You know, I just can't do it. Another hidden dev. Holy hell. We are killing this draft right now. Absolutely murdering the draft. Now at this point, we have covered all of our bases. And now it's just about just taking people, you know, like taking players, just taking a shot and seeing what we can find. There was a quarterback that I was looking at on here for a day 3 prospect. So these are the 2 guys that I have at quarterback for day 3 prospects, Aaron Cohen and Kyle Caldwell. They're both field general. It looks like Caldwell has some better upfront statistics. He's got B, throw under pressure, compared to C. He's got A, short accuracy, compared to B, which is awesome. And then we know he has B, medium, and C, deep. And the only question here is, does Aaron Cohen have C, middle accuracy, or is it below that? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a flyer on Kyle Caldwell here. Okay, so we just finished up, and damn, we killed this draft, guys. We absolutely destroyed this draft. Julian Chambers is a 77. Jameel Betts is a 75. Otis Watts is a 73. Pat Smith, 73. Eli Bridges, 73. Glenn McAllister, 74. Marcus Felton, 73. Frank Fletcher, 74. Kyle Caldwell, 69. Cordell Sally, 60. I mean, once we got to this point, my whole board was destroyed, so I understand why I missed on a lot of... I didn't get very good value in the later parts of the round. But for the guys that I had on my board, up until like Frank Fletcher and Kyle Caldwell, we hit it out of the park. Absolutely amazing draft for us. Our whole team feels a little bit different now after this offseason, between the signing of Franklin Myers and the draft that we just had. So looking at Julian Chambers, his zone coverage comes in really good. He's not the best when it comes to pursuit and tackling and whatnot. His man coverage is absolutely atrocious. Play rec needs a lot of work, but the zone coverage comes in pretty good at 78. Hit power 79. Acceleration 93, that's big. Awareness being a 74 is big. I like it. And then Jameel Betts. So Betts comes in with 74 zone coverage, 78 awareness, 75 play rec, 90. Oh my god, this guy is an absolute monster. His man coverage isn't the best, but I mean, it's 65 isn't the worst, I guess. I mean, it could be a lot better. We ended up getting a great find in Betts because Avery McDonald, who has really good statistics, had 63 zone and still read as A. So let that show you how difficult it is sometimes to decipher between these guys. He had an A rating, and I think Betts had like A to C or something weird like that. And he ends up 11 less? That doesn't even make sense. 11 difference. So I'm wondering if there's just not that many guys that had that high of a value. So they had, it still technically was an A given the whole pool of linebackers. I don't know. And his man coverage was a 52. So Otis Watts ends up being a 73 power rusher. I love to see that. Not the fastest, but acceleration is good. Power moves is pretty decent at 73. Block shedding will definitely need some work, but he's got good strength to start out and good awareness. So definitely somebody that we can work with. Pat Smith, same sort of ordeal as Pat Smith is really balanced, guys. Like really balanced. He actually has just as good of zone coverage as McDonald did. His man coverage is 58, so he's actually a better cover linebacker than that of Avery McDonald, who was... And that's why I was concerned with that run stopper thing, guys. So keep an eye out for that. Don't be afraid to go with your other player just because of a scheme fit, because sometimes it changes the whole dynamic of the player. Because this guy has almost as good of coverage ability as Avery McDonald, if not better, and he's not even close to a pass coverage guy. So keep that in mind. And then our third and final pick of the second round, Eli Bridges. He comes in 72 man, 74 zone, 68 play rec, 63 tackles, 64 press. So definitely a work in progress, but I like the man in zone. That was probably one of the better ratings that we could find. In the third round, we get another two studs, Glenn McAllister and Marcus Felton. McAllister definitely needs some work in the pass blocking game, but he's ready to go in the run block. And it's really his pass blocking and awareness that needs some serious work. So we'll make sure we get him involved right away. And who knows, he could end up taking over at some point for Nate Davis should we decide to maybe move on from him like we did Jenkins this year. Free up some money for, we have contracts coming up for Alex Poe, Braxton McManus, Frank Bonner if we want to keep him. Who else? Dylan Gilbert. Leo Walsh. So there's going to be quite a few contracts coming up, and that might lead to us trading away a guy like Nate Davis. And then Marcus Felton. So Marcus Felton was a guy that I thought was going to be more of like a Swiss Army knife for us, similar to Jonathan Verdon, and I don't think I was wrong. He definitely has a lot of work to do in the route running game, but he's got great abilities in the physicals department. His catching is really good, an 81 without the boost. His catch in traffic was a 77. His release needs some work, so he definitely will need some work, but he comes in with some really good physicals to work with, and I'm excited to work with him. Obviously, he won't get to play right away, but he'll be here for the future. And then the final round that I really cared about was the fourth round, Frank Fletcher and Kyle Caldwell. Now, Fletcher, this was the one that... Wow, he ends up being really good too. He has 86 hit power, 88 acceleration. Holy crap. Wow. I really like the draft that we had. Kyle Caldwell. And then Caldwell here, yes, he does need some work, but a 69 overall to find in the fourth round at quarterback, that ends up equaling what's his name was for us before we let him go. Can't think of his name now. So we end up getting a much cheaper option for him. Well, there we have it, guys. That was the offseason. I think it was a very successful one. A lot of changes took place. This is a very different looking team than it was just before this episode. We've got a new defensive lineman. We have a new face on the offensive line. We got some new weapons. We have a whole new secondary, it seems, and literally a whole new defense. We have a lot of new faces on defense. I cannot wait to see what these guys do in the preseason. So that is something that we'll end up doing on the next video. For this one, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Before you head out, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you've not already, and turn the bell notification on so you don't miss out on any Texans content or anything else that I would upload. And I'll see you guys next time.